Hello everyone. As we are doing reading practice, so today I am again here with you. I hope that you are also doing reading practice every single day. So today's our story is Romi and the Wildfire. As Romi was about to mount his bicycle, he saw smoke rising from behind the distant line of trees. It looks like a forest fire, said Prem, his friend and classmate. It's well to the east, said Romi. Nowhere near the road. There's a strong wind, said Prem, looking at the dry leaves swirling across the road. It was the middle of May, and it hadn't rained in the Terai of several weeks. The grass was brown, the leaves of the trees covered with dust. Even though it was getting on to 6 o'clock in the evening, the boys' shirts were damp with sweat. It will be getting dark soon, said Prem. You'd better spend the night at my house. No, I said I'd be home tonight. My father isn't keeping well. The doctor has given me some tablets for him. You had better hurry then. That fire seems to be spreading. Oh, it's far off. It will take me only 40 minutes to ride through the forest. Bye, Prem. See you tomorrow. Romi mounted his bicycle and pedaled off down the main road of the village, scattering stray hens, stray dogs, and stray villagers. Hey, look where you are going, shouted an angry villager, leaping out of the way of the oncoming bicycle. Do you think you own the road? Of course, I own it, called Romi cheerfully and cycled on. His own village lay about 7 miles distant, on the other side of the forest, but there was only a primary school in his village, and Romi was now in high school. His father, who was a fairly wealthy sugarcane farmer, had only recently bought him the bicycle. Romi didn't care too much for school and left. There weren't enough holidays, but he enjoyed the long rides, and he got on well with his classmates. He might have stayed the night with Prem had it not been for the tablets which Ved, the Ved is the doctor, which the Ved, the village doctor, had given him for his father. Romi's father was having back trouble, and the medicine had been specially prepared from local herbs. Having been given such a fine bicycle, Romi felt that the least he could do in return was to get those tablets to his father as early as possible. He put his hat down and rode swiftly out of the village. Ahead of him, the smoke rose from the burning forest and the sky glowed red. He had soon left the village far behind. There was a slight climb, and Romi had to push harder on the pedals to get over the rise. Once over the top, the road went winding down to the edge of the subtropical forest. This was the part Romi enjoyed most. He relaxed, stopped pedaling, and allowed the bicycle to glide gently down the slope. Soon the wind was rushing past him, blowing his hair about his face and making his shirt blow out behind. He burst into song. A dog from the village ran beside him, barking furiously. Romy shouted to the dog, encouraging him in the race. Then the road straightened out and Romy began paddling again. The dog, seeing the forest ahead, turned back to the village. It was afraid of the forest. The smoke was thicker now, and Romy caught the smell of burning timber. But ahead of him, the road was clear. He rode on. It was rough, dusty road, cut straight through the forest. Tall trees grew on either side, cutting off the last of the daylight. But the spreading glow of the fire on the right light up the road, and giant tree shadows danced before the boy on the bicycle. Usually the road was deserted. This evening it was alive with wild creatures fleeing from the forest fire. The first animal that Romy saw was a hare. Here is a rabbit, leaping across the road in front of him. It was followed by several more hares. Then a band of monkeys streamed across, chattering excitedly. Band is a collective noun. Band of monkeys. As we say, bouquet of flowers. In the same way, band is the name of the group that is used for the group of monkeys. They'll be safe on the other side, thought Romy. The fire won't cross the road, but it was coming closer, and realizing this, Romy pedaled harder. In half an hour, he should be out of the forest. Suddenly, from the side of the road, several pheasants rose in the air, and with a whoosh flew low across the path, just in front of oncoming bicycle. Taken by surprise, Romy felt off when he picked himself up and began brushing his clothes. He saw that his knees was bleeding. It wasn't a deep cut, but he allowed it to bleed a little. Took out his handkerchief and bandaged his knee. Then he mounted the bicycle again. He rode a bit slower now, because birds and animals kept coming out of the bushes. Not only pheasants, but smaller birds too were streaming across the road. Parrots, jungle crows, owls, magpies, and the air was filled with their cries. Everyone's on the move, thought Romy. It must be a really big fire. He could see the flames now, reaching out from behind the trees on his right, and he could hear the cracking as the dry leaves caught fire. The air was not on his face. Leaves still alight or turning to cinders floated past. A herd of deer crossed the road, and Romy had to stop until they had passed. Then he mounted again and rode on. But now, for the first time, he was feeling afraid. From ahead came a faint clanging sound. It wasn't an animal sound. Romy was sure of that. A fire engine. There were no fire engines within 50 miles. The cleansing came nearer, and Romy discovered that the noise came from a small boy who was running along the forest path, two milk cans clattering at his side. Clattering is the sound when clattering is a sound of iron or any metal. Tiju called Romy. recognizing the boy from a neighboring village. What are you doing out here? Trying to get home, of course, said Teju, panting along beside the bicycle. Jump on, said Romi, stopping for him. Teju was only 8 or 9, a couple of years younger than Romi. He had come to deliver milk to some road workers, but the workers had left at the first signs of the fire, and Teju was hurrying home with his cans still full of milk. He got up on the crossbar of the bicycle, and Romi moved on again. He was quite used to carrying friends on the crossbar. Keep beating your milk cans, said Romi. Like that, the animals will know we are coming. My well doesn't make enough noise. I'm going to get a horn for my cycle. I never knew there were so many animals in the jungle, said Teju. I saw a python in the middle of the road. It stretched right across. What did you do? Just keep running and jumped right over it. Teju continued to chatter, but Romi's thoughts were on the fire, which was much closer now. Flames shot up from the dry grass and ran up the trunks of trees and along the branches. Smoke billowed out of the forest. Romi's eyes were smarting, and his hair and eyebrows felt crossed. He was feeling tired, but he couldn't stop now. He had to get beyond the range of the fire. Another 10 or 15 minutes of steady riding would get them to the small wooden bridge that spanned the little river separating the forest from the sugarcane fields. Once across the river, they would be safe. The fire could not touch them on the other side because the forest ended at the river's edge. But could they get to the river in time? Mm, clang, clang, clang went Teju's milk cans. But the sound of the fire grew louder too. A tall silk cotton tree, its branches leaning across the road, had caught fire. They were almost beneath it when there was a crash and a burning branch fell to the ground a few yards in front of them. The boys had to get off the bicycle and leave the road, forcing their way through a tangle of thorny bushes on the left, dragging and pushing at the bicycle and only returning to the road some distance ahead of the burning tree. We won't get out in time, said Teju, back on the crossbar, but feeling disheartened. Yes, we will, said Romi, paddling with all his might. Paddling with all his might. The fire hasn't crossed the road yet. Even as he spoke, he saw a small flame leap up from the grass on the left. It wouldn't be long before more sparks and burning leaves were blown across the road to kindle the grass on the other side.